Excuse me, just one moment. We're going to move the agenda around a bit. We will start off with public comments. So, Kyla, we'll start with the written comments.
Okay. The first written comment that we have comes from Linda Bove, who is commenting on the executive director finalists. Her comments are as follows. To the board of ACDHH, thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, there was a miscommunication.
mhm.
I apologize. Got a bit confused with the agenda. And this is Commissioner Goodstein. If you want to move things around, if you think that's best, that is completely okay with me. I'm new to the board. This is Commissioner Sanko. I think for the sake of new board members, it may be a good idea to follow the agenda to avoid confusion.
Yeah, I'm flexible. This is Commissioner Goodstein. I'm flexible, whatever you think is best.
Is everyone okay with that? This is Commissioner Kidd. For the purpose, or for the sake of making things easier, would it be a good idea to vote to move things around on the agenda? This is Commissioner Sanko. I don't think that would be necessary.
This is Commissioner Kidd, then I think it would be fine to move it around.
This is Commissioner Sanko. Thank you everyone for your patience. We will start with public comments then.
Okay. So again, this first comment is coming from Linda Bove, who's commenting on the executive director finalists. Her written comments are as follows. To the board of ACDHH, thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts. Honestly, I was appalled when I learned that the finalists are both hearing, to say the least. To me, it is a step backward. One only has to look at the ACDHH's mission, vision, and programs to understand why a deaf or hard of hearing person should be in the highly visible position of executive director. Undoubtedly, there are many qualified deaf, hard of hearing candidates in the country. I urge the board, now full with 3 new members, review the search process carefully and move forward into the right direction. Thank you. The next comments come from Mark Hansen, who is also commenting on the executive director position. His comments are as follows. Wait a minute. This organization is about, of, and for the deaf, so please reopen and put forth effort into national recruiting to only accept deaf candidates. Remember NAD's motto as our rally cry, nothing about us without us, and give jobs to the deaf. The next comment comes from Karina Moore, who is also commenting on the executive director position. Hello, board. My name is Karina Moore, and I am a licensed interpreter in Tucson, Arizona. I'm asking that the board postpone the vote for executive director and relaunch the search to include the qualified deaf leaders who applied. From the ACDHH website, the purpose of ACDHH is to ensure, in partnership with the public and private sector, accessibility for the deaf and hard of hearing to improve their quality of life. The board's purpose is to improve the lives of deaf and hard of hearing individuals. How can that be done when there is no deaf leadership? Deaf leadership is crucial to ensuring their voice is heard among a sea of individuals who think they know what's best for them. It's time to allow deaf people the right to lead and make decisions for themselves. I implore you to relaunch the search and deliberately seek deaf leadership. The next comment comes from LaDonna Gabrielson, who is also commenting on the executive director position. Her comments are as follows. To the ACDHH board, my name is LaDonna Gabrielson, a licensed ASL interpreter in Arizona. I am submitting this comment to express my concern regarding the selection process for the next executive director of ACDHH. Given ACDHH's role as a cornerstone of advocacy and empowerment for Arizona's deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind communities, selecting a leader with genuine connection and lived experience is essential. ACDHH serves over 1.1 million Arizonas with hearing loss through vital resources such as interpreter licensure, telecommunication equipment distribution program, and statewide partnerships that promote accessibility. The executive director is more than an administrator. They are a trusted advocate whose leadership profoundly impacts these communities. Sherry Collins, the current executive director, has provided that authentic representation for over 25 years, fostering trust, advocacy, and connection within the community. Without a successor who shares this lived experience, the agency risks sending a disempowerment message that contradicts its mission. A leader with lived experience would bring an invaluable perspective to the role, strengthening relationships and trust with Arizona's deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing residents. The expedited nature of this hiring process raises questions about whether the selection committee had sufficient time to conduct a robust search that meets the agency's unique needs. In light of these concerns, I respectfully urge the board to consider: 1. What specific outreach efforts were undertaken to engage candidates from the deaf communities and other marginalized groups? Number 2, how is input from stakeholders, including the deaf, deafblind, hard of hearing, and deaf with multiple disabilities, incorporated into the recruitment process? Number 3, what forums or meetings were hosted to allow community members the ability to express their views on the qualifications they seek in an executive director candidate? As a licensed interpreter with daily involvement in these communities, I strongly urge the board to reject the current finalists and initiate a more comprehensive search for candidates who genuinely embody the qualifications and reflect the needs and values of the communities ACDHH serves. I also encourage the 2 finalists to continue supporting the agency in their current roles, which are already critical to ACDHH's work. Thank you for considering this request to ensure a thoughtful, community-centered approach to this important decision. Sincerely, LaDonna Gabrielson. The next comment comes from Deb Stone, who's also, sure. The next comment comes from Deb Stone, who's also commenting on the ED position. Her written comments are as follows. Hi, my name is Deb Stone. The 2 finalists for the executive directors are excellent, have provided excellent work in the deaf and hard of hearing community for many years, but they do not share the same experiences, frustrations, barriers, challenges, drawbacks, discrimination, and limit to freedom choices as a deaf or hard of hearing individual. The other 2 deaf or hard of hearing finalists were obstacle to have opportunity to apply for the position of the executive director. Please consider. Thank you. Please reconsider. Thank you. The next written comments come from Geraldine Francini, who is also commenting on the executive director position. Her comments are as follows. I have been an Arizona resident for 23 years. I want to express my concerns about the candidates. The executive director position should be deaf like many other states. I strongly believe that the candidate should have a college degree. Many deaf people are well educated. I sincerely hope you will reconsider postponing the current candidate selection. Thank you for taking the time to read my recommendation. Sincerely yours, Geraldine Francini. All right, the next comment is from Jose Ramirez, who is giving a public comment from the Tucson Association of the Deaf. I think he's here live, so I'm not going to actually read that. Is he here? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to hold off on that one. I'll just read the next one that's an actual written comment. Okay. The next written comment comes from PB Jantz, who's commenting on the executive director position. His written comments are as follows. Good afternoon to the commission chair, commission, executive director Collins, the deaf and hard of hearing, deafblind, and interpreter communities, and ACDHH staff. As a deaf community member, a former commissioner, commission chair, and former employee, I thought it would be beneficial to share my thoughts regarding the selection of the next executive director. There is no doubt that executive director Collins she's leaving significantly large shoes to fill. As such, the bar must be high for the consideration of the next executive director. As always, the preference for the community and the commission would be to select a qualified deaf, hard of hearing, or deafblind individual as the next executive director. When there isn't a qualifying candidate that meets the community preferences, we as a community, commission, and agency must work together not only to make the best decision in selecting a qualified candidate to lead the agency, We must also consider and factor the future path of the agency and how we can build a pool of qualified candidates who are deaf, hard of hearing, or deafblind to lead. Having worked for both candidates in addition to my prior experience I shared with you, I can confirm with confidence and empirical evidence which candidate not only is well qualified to lead the agency, but also will ensure there is a future path for the following executive director to be one of the community members. Suke not only enabled my own personal and professional growth, she also created pathways for a number of other deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind community members to grow and thrive as professionals. If you appreciated my professionalism, my contributions, and the opportunities I was able to lend or create for the wider community, please know that Suke was directly responsible for that. I have no doubt that Suke would not only lead the agency for the best benefit of the communities, she will also create a pathway and strategic plan for developing and preparing the next pool of qualified candidates that are deaf, hard of hearing, or deafblind to lead for the future. Please select Suke as the next executive director of ACDHH. And then that is it for the written comments. Everything else is video or in person.
Are we going to be showing the videos now? There should be 3 of them.
Yeah, we can show those videos now. I don't know which one you have queued up first, but let's do the video from Karen Tenen first.
Hello, this is Karen Tenen, representing the Arizona Deafblind Coalition, AZDBC. For many years, the deaf-blind community has had a long history of limitations in terms of services and deep isolation, insufficient support, and the ability to have self-confidence, the ability to be independent and socialize with other people has led to a poor quality of life in our deafblind community. To address these issues, we have been collecting data with respect to the deafblind community's responses to surveys. The community rates the services provided by ACDHH as somewhat fair or fair in terms of the current support. Surveys from the deafblind population, individuals among the community, indicate that the entire deafblind community is looking for a dedicated deafblind coordinator to strengthen and improve the services and increase the availability of services available to our community and improve the quality of life for the deafblind community. Access to technology that we can use independently and other variety of services that we are looking for support with. The priority request from ACDHH is to reopen the deaf-blind coordinator position to have that connection with the community, the deaf-blind community and deaf-blind individuals that you meet and serve their needs in the state. This is a need of our community. We are looking to build a strong relationship with our new ACDHH executive director and looking forward to working together to improving the access to services for our deaf-blind, the resources as well for our deaf-blind community in Arizona. Thank you.
Okay, for the next, sorry.
Is it possible to pay the captions over the video for the hard of hearing members?
That's being added now. Yeah, okay. The next video is going to come from Ernest Willman. Okay, let's go to Samantha Moore.
Hello,
Oh, I'm so
I
sorry.
am
This is
Ernest Willman. I live in Tucson, Arizona. I am deaf. I am also a certified deaf interpreter. I want to say that I am disappointed in the results of the two final candidates who were selected for the position. They are both hearing individuals who are in running for the position of executive director. The deaf ecosystem is under attack. The deaf ecosystem is run by deaf people. And seeing hearing people potentially taking this position is disappointing. There are positions that can be filled by hearing people, but this position in particular is someone who works for the entire state, and there should be a deaf person in this position. When I say deaf, I mean deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing. Please consider that as the executive director meets with legislators, the governor, they are representing the commission, and they should be a deaf person. It would not be the same if there was a hearing person in that position. Executive Director Collins has been in this position for many, many years and has really elevated the state. And she leaves an incredible legacy, which will be wiped out if a hearing person takes the executive director position. Director Collins is involved in the ACDHH board and has been for many years. That board is only deaf individuals. If a hearing person becomes executive director, they will not be able to serve on ACDHH on the national level. Please consider some limitations. Let's say at my house, I have some issues, electrical issues, and I call a plumber to come and fix the electrical issues. Of course, plumbers are important in our society, but if I have an electrical issue, I'm going to call an electrician. Same thing goes for this position. It needs to be filled with a deaf candidate. We value hearing community members, but a deaf person needs to be in this position. ACDHH has a long legacy which could be fractured if there is not a deaf person in this leadership position. The agency would no longer be run by deaf people. Please reconsider. Thank you.
okay. And then for the next video comment, this is coming from Samantha Moore from the Tucson Association of the Deaf.
Hello, this comment is for the current board meeting. Hello, I am a white woman wearing a teal shirt with brown wavy hair and glasses, uh, with silver rings and a saguaro necklace. There is a picture on the wall behind me. The Tucson Association of the Deaf would like to express our concerns regarding the selection process for the next executive director of ACDHH. As an organization, we are dedicated to the state of to Southern Arizona, the deaf community members in Southern Arizona, and we think that the process of transparency is critically important in the selection process. There should be diverse representation. ACDHH selecting an executive director who represents that diverse community, represents the linguistic, cultural, economic, etc. diversity of the communities. People with diverse abilities, people with diverse lived experiences, etc. Transparency in the selection process is very important, and we would like to encourage ACDHH to open and make that process more transparent, discussing the qualifications, the desired qualifications of the next director, and ensure that that person can properly empathize with community needs. The next executive director should not only have a solid professional background, but also deep empathy and commitment to the unique needs of all members of the deaf and hard of hearing communities. Honesty and integrity in leadership are very important for a properly respectful and inclusive leadership. So those priorities should be diversity, transparency, and integrity. For any director to lead using these qualities would require input from the deaf community. Thank you for hearing my comment.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to the in-person comments now. That's it for everybody else. First, I have Dick Leon. Dick Leon?
Hello, board. I would like to express some concerns about the two finalists for the executive director position being hearing. There are 2 points that I would like to make that show my concern for the deaf community in the state of Arizona, for our friends and residents with whom I've spoken with and shared concerns with. First area that I would like to share with you is leadership. The community has grown and the agency has grown in its role with the government. In 1988, Gallaudet University had the Deaf President Now rally. That really sent a ripple effect across the United States and to other countries as well. I would like to name a few places where there was an impact. Schools for the Deaf now have hired deaf superintendents. I worked for the federal government for quite a long time. And within the government, there are different equal opportunity offices that were traditionally run by hearing employees instead of deaf and hard of hearing individuals. Now things have changed, and those departments are run by deaf and hard of hearing people because of the Deaf President Now rally at Gallaudet University. Deaf people know what deaf people need. Also, the Black in Government organization is an organization run by Black individuals who work in government. There's also the DHHIG group, Deaf and Hard of Hearing in Government, that really got its start after the Deaf President Now protest. I also want to mention NASA DHH. Robert Cooper is president of the organization, and he conducted a survey, and I read the report, which was really interesting. It focused on commissions like Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. It was quite a lengthy report, but my area of interest within that report was the survey responses. They sent the survey out to all 50 states. The 39 states that have commissions responded. There's a pretty good number of commissions within the United States. And the executive director's roles are similar to Sherry Collins' role here. Their functions and responsibilities are similar. 26 out of 39 states, you may be surprised to hear, are completely deaf without any hearing staff. Having mentioned those two important points, that tells you that deaf leadership in this position leads to trust amongst the community members, trust that a deaf executive director will meet the needs of the community in a variety of ways. The National Association of the Deaf works with state agencies, and it's important that Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing works with the state legislature to change laws that work for deaf people. I have less than 1 minute left. Can you imagine if the Black in Government group had a white executive director? There would be no trust. They would not relate to leadership, and the leadership would not relate to the individuals in the organization, and the same goes for this agency. To support the organization and the residents of the state of Arizona, I request that you reopen the executive director search and review candidates who are deaf and qualified for this position. Thank you.
Okay, next we will have Bonell Ammon.
This is Commissioner Cienko. I want to say thank you, Dick. Before the next public comment, I want to remind everyone that you have 3 minutes for your comments. I'll try to give you a 1 minute warning with Kyla's help. All right, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. I just want to remind everyone that there's a lot of comments and things. I don't want to, I know there are a lot of comments and I want to repeat things. I just want to say what's in my heart. So, my husband and I moved here way back in 1978. There were only 3 or 4 organizations here. One of them was the Council for the Deaf. The Council for the Deaf was one of those organizations, and we worked together with the Council for the Deaf to find the executive director, who was Stuart. He was a hearing individual. The interpreter missed the name. I apologize. He was a hearing individual. We worked well together, but there was always something missing. And it was the Council for the Deaf. Then later in 1987, I believe, we had a large discussion about renaming that organization to Arizona Council for the Hearing Impaired. And there was a big outcry. We said we did not feel comfortable with that terminology, Arizona Council for the Hearing Impaired, but that director at the time thought it would be fine. There would be a lot of involvement, etc., and that was accepted, and it became Arizona Council for the Hearing Impaired. And we did not feel good about that name. In the year around the year 2000, which was it was just before the year 2000, we heard that we were going to have a new deaf executive director named Sherry Collins, who was from Illinois, and we were elated. We were so happy to finally have a deaf executive director, and she has been here for 27 years. She's leaving such a legacy. I cannot imagine someone else other than a deaf person taking up that role, taking her place. So I would ask that you please reconsider and try to find a deaf candidate for that available position. So our next executive director will be deaf and will be able to fill Sherry Collins' large shoes. Thank you so much.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you, Benel, for sharing your thoughts. You were one of my teachers, so thank you for those comments.
Okay, next we have on the card it's written as Jesse Ramirez and Katie Engelbrecht. Are both of you commenting together or okay?
I'm going to give comments with support. Is everyone able to see me? Good afternoon, board. Thank you for the opportunity to give comments today. My name is Jose Ramirez, and I'm here representing the Arizona Association of the Deaf. I want to talk about the next director of the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and the Hard of Hearing. I understand that ACDHH has already chosen 2 candidates for this position, which is a good start. However, I believe we should look for a variety of candidates, especially for candidates from within our community. The position of the executive director is a leader of the deaf and hard of hearing communities. This is someone who voices our concerns at the legislature and with the government. This individual ensures we have access and that the legislature has exposure to individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. This is a person who pushes for change for the entire state of Arizona. Schools, healthcare providers, and other organizations will be working with the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and it's important that barriers are addressed for our communities. It's also important that the executive director works with and for the deaf-blind community to address their unique needs and challenges. I understand that there are 2 individuals who have been chosen as finalists, but I request that the board look into other candidates. It's important that the next executive director looks to the future for the commission. We want an executive director who believes in us and believes that we have value. Thank you.
Okay, next on our list is Serena Stone.
Hello, ACDH board and community. The first thing I want to do is thank Sherry for her 27 years of fabulous service to this community of the state of Arizona. I want to emphasize in my comments that the 2 finalists are have an excellent history. They have worked hard for the community. That is wonderful. This is not a negative statement against them, but the relationship between the commission and the community, the deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing communities, is not going to be great. It's time for us to move forward, not backward. Hiring an executive director who is hearing is not going to strengthen the relationship with the community and the commission. So I want to reiterate what other people have said. Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have 2 more blue cards. I guess that's it. The next comment is going to be Michelle Michaels.
There I go. Oh, yeah. I can hear myself 3 times. Great. Hi, I'm Michelle Michaels, and I am hard of hearing. I am not deaf. I am a national and state leader in the hard of hearing community. I've worked in the field of deaf and hard of hearing services for 31 years. I also work for ACDHH, but these comments are my own. I've given this question about the hearing status of the next executive director a lot of thought. Now, you might think that as a hard of hearing person, I would say that the next executive director should be hard of hearing because, after all, in the state of Arizona, there are 1.3 million Arizonans who are hard of hearing like me. They do not use American Sign Language. They are hard of hearing and they struggle every single day with barriers related to their hearing loss. 1.3 million hard of hearing Arizonans. These are people who have not been represented by a hard of hearing executive director because there is no hard of hearing executive director for ACDHH. There never has been. However, it's my opinion, based on my lived experience and the 31 years that I've worked in this field, that the next leader of this agency does not have to be hard of hearing. You might think that's surprising, but the next leader of this agency needs to be qualified for the position, regardless of hearing status. They need to understand our communities and be committed to equitably representing all of the communities ACH serves, and not just one community. To disqualify someone, to not hire someone for this or for any job just because of their hearing status is discrimination. Thank you.
Okay, we've got one more final public comment from Sherry Berta. Is she in the room with us? Okay. I think she's manning the security at the door. We'll have her in here in a second. It's not on?
It was read before. My name is Sherry Berta. I do work for the Commission for the Deaf and the Hard of Hearing, and I'm here as an employee and as a citizen of Arizona. I've read on social media the concern with the hearing status of the candidates, and I find it a little concerning myself that there even is a concern. The board, as I understand it, had a personnel committee that screened many applicants, deaf and hard of hearing. And it seems they chose the best 3, not the best deaf. And there was a deaf candidate in the top 3. He chose not to participate. I believe that what we have here is misrepresentation of what we do at the agency. We, of course, we support and we advocate and we are for the deaf community, but also the hard of hearing community, the deafblind community, and those who have speech difficulties. They seem to be left out in the cold in all of this because it's all about the deaf. There are, as Michelle stated, 7.4 million people in Arizona. 1.3 million are hard of hearing, 25,000 are deaf, and approximately 600 are deafblind. As a 13-year employee with the state, I would rather see us have a leader than a deaf person. If that deaf person is our leader, great. But I don't think that that has to be part of the qualification. Your hearing status. You guys don't want to be, deaf people don't want to be pigeonholed for their hearing status. Don't let this position be pigeonholed by a hearing status. If a hearing person is qualified, and I do believe that both Suke and Carmen are extremely qualified, let them do the job. If you want to criticize their work, come to the board meetings, write letters, criticize them, but give them a chance to do their jobs. Because I think both of them would do a fantastic job. I've worked with Carmen for the time that I've been there, and she's been with the agency for more than 22 years. I've known Suke in the community for a long time. Suke has been doing this for 40 years, and since she's only 50, that means she's been doing it all her life. These people are dedicated. They've proven their dedication. There's no way that you cannot see their qualifications. And I'll end with this.
Time.
We need a qualified leader, not a deaf person.
Thank you so much, Kyla. And thank you, community members and members of the board as well. All right. Scratch what I was just about to say. Sherry Collins just mentioned that she would like to make a comment, and then that will be followed by the presentations. Sherry?
Should I move? Okay. I will move where everyone can see me. Okay. Am I good? Am I waiting? All right. Hello, for the record, my name is Sherry Collins. I'm the current executive director of the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. First of all, I want to welcome our 3 new board members. This position, I've been in this position for a long time, almost 27 years. By the time I retire, that it will be 27 years. And I'm happy today that we finally have an equal balance of representation on our board of deaf and hard of hearing individuals. The deaf representatives, the deaf representation rather, has been lacking for the last several years. And I know our new 3 applicants had been waiting and finally got selected. So we are 99% full. There's 1 vacancy, and that is very important. As the commission, you represent the community of the entire state, and you have the responsibility of overseeing the executive director, which is currently me. This is going to be my last public in-person board meeting. And I want to say a few things to the wonderful people behind me. So I'm going to talk for a moment and then I'm going to turn around. Right now I'm looking at the screen, but I will be turning around. In the role as executive director, it's not just a figurehead. The role of executive director is to lead, to represent the communities that we serve. What is our purpose? It's access for people who are deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind, and their families and their children. We have to look at language acquisition, the concerns of older adults as well. Of course, the numbers of hard of hearing people are higher. Sure, that's obvious, nationally across the US. However, the numbers of aging individuals as a whole is on the rise. So there are a lot of gaps which specifically impact our communities. I want to emphasize the importance of the executive director not just focusing on the state of Arizona, but things at the national level. We work with national organizations as allies. That's what has made Arizona successful. My work as a deaf individual and as a woman, it is critical that we have those relationships, that we represent the community at different levels, not just here. So I think my history and my work speak for themselves. I want to thank all of you for the support that you've given me for the last 27 years. I feel the need to speak with you directly, those who showed up. When there's an issue or a crisis in the government or at the state level or the local level or the national level, the community shows up. The deaf community shows up. And here you are. In 2.5 months, I will be sitting on your side. You will know me, you will know me simply as Sherry Collins and not executive director, but I will be damned if I do not fight for our community. Because I am a deaf person. I have faced challenges as executive directors. I have faced off with hearing people. I have been spit on at the Capitol. I have been confronted because I don't care. I will fight. Whatever our political views, we just had our election results, and I am very concerned as a woman myself, as a deaf person myself. One thing that I want to see, I want to protect for the next administration. I want everyone to agree on one thing, no matter what your political views are, whatever your perspectives are, equal access. Arizona has made strides. People have looked at us as a model in a lot of the work that we do. And we must come together, especially for the next 4 years. We cannot just show up for crisis. We have to stay together and be united. And I am ready to take that role on with you, alongside you now as a team. All of us are in this together. I'm trying not to cry because I'm leaving. But I want you to copy after me. Put your hand out. Pat yourself on the back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Okay, I'm going to try not to cry. Sherry, thank you for all that you do. And Dr. Harvey would like to say something. Might be better if I go to the podium as well. Yeah, because of the camera. You can see the back of my hair. It looks pretty nice. Better than I expected. I never really get to see the back of my head. Look at that. Not bad. Well, this is my first board meeting, and the agenda says that we have an important decision to make tonight to pick one of the two candidates. I'm like, wow, at my first meeting, I applied to be a commissioner over a year ago. I had my interview that seemed to go pretty well, and then I didn't hear anything for several months. I thought perhaps I wasn't chosen. Then, while I was on a trip, I received an email from the governor's office. This was only 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying that I was selected and that there was an oath that I needed to take, but I was on a trip. I wasn't paying too much attention to that. I got home October 29th. First thing I did was made sure I got my vote in. Then I looked through a stack of mail for a letter from the governor's office. I mailed that back to the governor's office. Then just yesterday, I was notified that the governor received my response, and here I am today. It was just yesterday that I got word, and here I am today at my first meeting where I have an important decision to make on the next executive director. It feels like I'm kind of at an ice cream parlor. Let's say I'm at Baskin Robbins or 31 Flavors. And I got there a little late because of traffic. And I rushed in and I wanted to get some ice cream right before they closed. But they had taken all the flavors to the freezer and I was only left with 2 flavors. I couldn't try any of the other flavors. It might even be best to go back the following morning to have the full selection of all 31 flavors. That's exactly how I feel today. The two candidates are great candidates, but I want to know who else applied. I can't, in good faith, make this important decision without knowing all of the information. So I move that we postpone this decision to a later date and reopen the search Anyone who has already applied is welcome to apply again. That's my motion. Is that an appropriate motion to make now, or does this need to happen in executive session? This is Commissioner Cienko. I was not expecting a motion on the floor at this point. First, I want to say, let me make my comment, please. Thank you. Before we get into that, I want to say thank you, Dr. Harvey, for sharing your experience on how you are appointed to the board. We are honored to have you here today. You are a valued member of this board. There is a process, however, that we have to follow. To discuss things like that, we need to be in executive session. If you would like to make a motion that we go into executive session at this point, you may. That may be what I'm hearing.
So if he wants to, he made a motion. If you want to, it's on the table.
That motion has been seconded, so we'll go into executive session. Oh, excuse me, sorry. This is Commissioner Goodstein. Do I need to go back to the podium? Okay. Like, what did I do today to the back of my hair? I know I took a shower. Okay, all right. I'm gonna focus on the screen in front of me. I feel strongly about the motion that I made because I want to have all of the information so I can make an informed decision. I do think it would be best for us to go into executive session to talk about next steps. I understand that there are things that cannot be shared with the public in this forum. This is Commissioner Cienko. So I want to make sure that I heard and understood your request. Are you requesting that we go into executive session to talk things over, or are you requesting that we postpone today's decision? This is Harvey. I recommend that we postpone today's decision to a later date, reopen the search, and anyone who has applied in the past is welcome to reapply. This is Commissioner Cienko. We have a motion on the floor to table the decision and ask candidates who have applied in the past to reapply. We want them to know that they're welcome to reapply. We have a second from Commissioner Herron. We also have a third. Kyla, I think it might be best to do a roll call.
Okay, I'm going to start with the commissioners that are online right now. Commissioner Cohen,
Maybe we should circle back to him.
we will. Okay, Commissioner Venkatesh,
How do you want me to phrase that? Did I agree to go to executive session?
Can you repeat the motion, Kyla?
okay, can you please repeat the motion that was made? I think that was Dr. Goodstein.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. I move that we table today's decision on the executive director for a later date, and that we reopen the executive director search, and anyone who applied in the first round is welcome to reapply.
And this is Commissioner Herron. I'm wondering, we have an interview. Are we going to suspend those interviews that are happening? I think we need to clarify the specifics of the motion.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. For clarification, that is a good point. That also means that the presentations and tonight's interviews will also be tabled for a later date. Thank you for asking for that clarification.
So I want to clarify, you said you're talking about making a decision and also suspending. I want to clarify exactly what the motion is. We're postponing the decision. Okay.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Dr. Harvey, would you like to rephrase your motion? This is Dr. Goodstein. It's getting longer and longer. Okay. Um, is there someone who understands exactly? I hope there's a friendly understanding of what's happening. I don't need to dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
Okay, just so make sure that I understand this correctly, Commissioner Goodstein would like to move to table the decision on the executive director until a later date and also postpone the interviews until that later date. Is that correct?
This is Commissioner Goodstein, yes, and reopen the search and welcome any applicants from the first round to reapply.
Okay, so the motion is to postpone the decision for executive director, to reopen the search and welcome any who have previously applied to reapply, and also to postpone the interviews tonight for the next executive director.
Question. Whatever the vote on this motion, could I also move that we go into executive session before adjourning? Because there's some questions I think need to be answered.
This is Commissioner Kidd. I second that.
So I move to go into executive session.
It might be easier to withdraw the motion and go into executive session first.
This is Commissioner Cienko. All right, people, we got two motions on the floor at this time. I'm sure everyone here and everyone watching is also as confused as I am. This is Commissioner Goodstein. If it's okay for me to withdraw my motion, we can go into executive session to answer any outstanding questions. This is Commissioner Cienko. All right, so that motion has been withdrawn, and we have a motion to move into executive session to ask more questions. And that motion has been seconded by Commissioner Kidd. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, we will go into executive session, and we, the commissioners, will move into another room.
begin the process this evening. To recognize that we have identified some gaps in our process for tonight's presentations, they will be put on hold. And the finalists are still candidates. We are suspending in order to analyze the steps, and we will discuss those steps tomorrow at our meeting on Zoom.
This is Commissioner Cianco. We have a motion. Do we have a second? This is Harvey Goodstein. I second that. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries.
Did Commissioner Venkatesh vote?
Commissioner Venkatesh, just checking in with you on Zoom. Did you get a chance to vote in favor or against?
Motion.
Yeah, I'm in favor. I said aye.
Perfect.
right.
Thank you so much.
Motion passes, and it was unanimous. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for being here this evening. We did have a lot to talk over in executive session, and it was a difficult decision. Like Commissioner Kidd mentioned, we did identify some gaps in the search process. I want to thank the candidates for taking the time to be here this evening and for preparing your presentations. I want to thank the community for being here tonight and sharing your public comments. Your feedback is valuable and helped us to identify some of those gaps. So thank you for that. We will be meeting again tomorrow afternoon via Zoom to talk over next steps and to determine what those will be.
There will be executive session tomorrow. This is Commissioner Goodstein.
This is Commissioner Cianco. Yes, tomorrow will be executive session. Like I mentioned, tomorrow we will be in executive session. And moving on to future agenda items, actually, we're going to just move on and accept a motion to adjourn today's meeting. I know everyone is pretty tired. Again, thank you everyone for being here tonight, and I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
This is Commissioner Masson. I move we adjourn.
We got a second and a third. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.